welcome to MasterSense by Faraday, Industrial Skills Masterclass by Faraday. Grow, learn, build, and rise. Welcome again. This class is on Introduction to Python. This is introductory. There won't be much writing of codes. This will just be to introduce you to Python, to appreciate Python. So if you are new to programming, don't worry, just relax and enjoy the introduction. So, what is our objective? We should be able to set up Python. I will tell you how to set up Python and connect, and then how to use a code editor, an integrated development environment like VS Code, and the extensions. Then I will introduce you to some concepts on writing Python codes like variables, decisions, loops, and functions. Then a small introduction to data structures like lists, dictionaries, files, and then a simple script putting things together. Why Python? Python is readable. The code is designed to be understandable, unlike traditional programming languages before Python, C, C++, Java. Python is more readable, is versatile, useful in automation, analysis, web, like Django, and of course in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then also Python is, you can run Python as a script. You just need an interpreter to interpret the code, no need to compile. Python is productive. You can use Python to turn repetitive steps into reusable instructions. So, how do you install Python? Just go to python.org/downloads, select Python 3 installer for your operating system. You check Windows, Linux, any operating system, you install your Python for your operating system through python.org. Then for Windows, it's very easy. You just run the installer and then you add to path so that Python can be called on the command line. I will demonstrate all these in subsequent classes. This is just to introduce you. Complete the installation. You finish your installation, and then to verify, you just open your command prompt and type Python, this command, python -- version, and then or any of these alternatives, it should show you the current version of Python on your computer. Very easy. Just download from python.org and install for your operating system. Now, the Python itself will be installed on your computer, but you need an integrated development environment, an IDE, to run to give you a better working environment to write your code. So the one of the most common tool for that is VS Code. So you go to Microsoft Visual Studio site and then you download VS Code. Okay. You download it, install, and then when you install on VS Code, you search for Python extensions, you install the extensions as well. Then normally the VS Code picks the Python interpreter automatically, but you can also use Ctrl+Shift+P to select the Python interpreter that VS Code should use. So this typically happens if you have multiple Python versions installed on your computer. And then, of course, just run a simple code to test your setup. If you don't find Python, you can restart VS Code and then just type print hello Python, and you should output this on your command line. I will show you all these subsequently. So first program, print hello Python, print I can automate repetitive tag, print 2 plus 3. So in Python, this print is a function. So basically, anything you put inside the print is what will be displayed on the command on the console, the output. So if I say print hello Python, it's going to print hello Python. Print I can automate repetitive task, it does it. So then if I say print 2 plus 3, Python can understand that this is a mathematical operation and then makes it calculate 5 and print 5 to the screen. I will show that briefly in VS Code later. Variables are used to store values in programming. So it's like a container. Okay. So in Python, if I say course equal to Python basics, when I put this in inverted commas, it's telling Python that this is a string. So in other programming languages, you may need to, like in Java, you need to specify that this is a string. This is an integer, 25, which is a number. This is a decimal value, which is called a float in programming. And this is a Boolean, which is true or false. In Java, you have to define the type for all these variables. But in Python, it knows automatically that this is a string, this is an integer, this is a float, and this is a Boolean. So if I say print course, for example, it's going to print Python basics. Okay. Same thing if I say print learners, it's going to print 25, like that. Okay, so this course is holding this course is a variable holding this string basics. This learners is another variable, it's like a bucket, a space holding this value 25. So whenever I use learners in any way after here, the computer will see it as 25. So it's like a storage. So variable is used to store values that you will use in your code. Inputs and formatted messages. In Python, if you want to ask a user to input, maybe for example, now you want to build a small calculator for calculating the interest rate, simple interest, you need to know the principal and the rate and the duration of the interest. You can tell the user to input the principal, ask again, input the rate and then time, and then use those variables to store them and then use them in your analysis and calculation. For example, in here I say name equal to input. This input is a function inbuilt in Python. If you say it will display what is your name, whatever you type, if you write your name, it will store it as name. Your row, whatever you put as your row, it will store it as your row. Then when you say print, welcome name. So this F means that you are putting a string, which is welcome, and combining it with a variable and giving it to the print command, print function to print it out. So this is how Python does it. You put an F in front, write whatever you want to write, then the variable you want to display inside the print, put it inside these braces. Same thing for the row. You say whatever you type in row will be printed here as well. Okay, so if I say what's your name and you say you answer MasterSense by Faraday, what's your role? You answer engineer. It means that this name is now carrying this MasterSense by Faraday. This role is now carrying engineer. So anytime I put name, it will show MasterSense by Faraday. Anytime I put role, it will show engineer. So if I run this code now, it's going to show me welcome MasterSense by Faraday role engineer. Numbers and calculations. Okay, this is very important for Python. So in this code example, I have said that, let's say for example, I'm a planner, I'm planning activity, I'm tracking progress. So I plan 28 jobs, 19 has been completed. Progress is completed over plan times 100 as percentage. The remaining is plan minus completed. So I do all this calculation in Python and then just print to the user. Progress is progress, which is this variable that holds the calculation of completed over planned. Then this dot one is to make it one decimal place, then percentage at the end. Then remaining to print remaining. So basically, you're doing mathematics and using the print function to print out the results. Now, another very critical part of all programming language is decisions, where you make conditions. If this, else this, do this. Now, imagine that I have a case where pressure, I set pressure threshold to, I set the pressure value, to, let's say the current pressure value is 185 bar. Then I have this condition. If the pressure is greater than 200, say the status is high. Else if, so in Python you can short it like elif, which is like else if the pressure is less than 150, the status is low, which means anything in between is normal. So that's why I say else. So any other else. So once it's less than 150 is low. Greater than 200 is high. Anything else is normal. Print status. What do you think will be the status of the result? Result is going to be normal because I set the pressure as 185. Is between 150 and 200. Status is normal. So when you run this code, you are going to have normal. So you see, Python has been able to check the conditions. It looks at the variable pressure is having 185 inside. Then it's taking that pressure now, it's checking. Is the pressure greater than 200? No. Is the pressure less than 150? No. Then the only way, the only thing can be is else, which is normal. So this is how you do if and else to make decisions in programming. This cuts across all programming languages, Java, C++, C Sharp, just name it, JavaScript, all of them. You have if else conditions. So use it to decide between these conditions and make decisions depending on the value of variables. Now, data structures. Very important. You use data structures to hold data together. For example, arrays to keep data. So in Python, you have what is called list. So the beauty about Python list is that you can combine different types. So for example, these tasks is in this kind of bracket like this, and it has entries, plan, build, test. So these are all string variables. So this is a list of tasks: plan, build, and test. So this is a list. The list contains three inputs, three elements. I can say like that. So now in list, the first entry is taken as position 0. Second entry is 1. Third entry is 2. Like that. It starts from 0. So if I say print task at number 0, what is at 0? Plan. So if I say print task 0, it will print plan. That's why you have this output as plan. If I say print task 2, it will print test on the screen. Now, I can add to the list. If I want to add to this list, I just say this list dot append and put what I want to add. So once I append deploy to this list will now be made of 4 elements. which we have index 0, 1, 2, 4. The fourth one will be deployed. So if I say print len task, len is a function in Python to print the length of a list or length of a data structure. So this list contains 4 elements, so the length is 4. That's why the result is showing 4. If you don't understand much now, it's okay. It's just to later when we start building lists, when we start doing variables and using if, else, conditional, you will appreciate it more. But this is just to give you a broad introduction to it, overview. So you use this kind of lists to store data, and then you manipulate the data by pointing to their position in the list. Loops. Loops is I want to go through the same thing many times, right? Imagine that I have a list, right? And the list has plan, build, and test inside. I want to write, I am working on plan, I'm working on build, I'm working on test. So instead of writing it, printing it 3 times, I'll just use only one print statement and loop through it. Okay. So for a variable X or T or whatever, or task, I can call it anything. In tasks, this is the beauty of Python. If it was Java and the rest, you need to specify, this task, what type it is and everything. Now you're just saying that for this, in these lists, print working on task. So what happens is that Python automatically knows that you mean go through this list and start from the first index, which is 0, keep printing until you get to the last, and then you just write only one line instead of having to type all of them. Okay, so you appreciate it more later when when we build more real life applications. Now there's another data structure called dictionary, which is basically a key value pair. So you have the key on the left and the value on the right, separated by a colon. So for example, this is a dictionary of courses. So the course has a title, has a level, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or expert, and the status, maybe open or closed. Okay. So this is a dictionary, right? Now, if I say print the status of this dictionary, the status is open. So when I print this, I'm going to see open. Functions. Functions are used in Python to implement a code block that does a particular job, and then you can now reuse it later. For example, there's a function here that calculates progress. To create a function in Python, use the keyword def, def. Once you type def, Python knows that you want to create a function. So this function takes 2 parameters, completed and total, which means if I give it completed and total, it will calculate the percentage progress for me. And the percentage progress is what? Completed divided by total times 100. So it will return the answer, which is percent, and round it up. So to 1 decimal place. So you will see this particular, and then if I call this function now, calculate progress, and give it the 2 parameters, completed and total, which is 19 and 28, it does the calculation and returns the answer as 67.9. So that's how functions work. Functions are used to, you write a function and then use it. Just now I can just keep giving it any 2 values and it calculate the percentage for me. Now, a very good part of programming is error debugging, finding errors in your code. Error is not a bad thing. It means that something is wrong. You need to fix it. You don't want to ship a code now, ship a software, and the user starts getting trouble using it. It's better for you as a programmer to see all the errors, debug it, fix it before shipping it. So if you see error, read the error line, inspect the highlighted line. That's why it's good to use IDEs like VS Code, test editor, so that it will highlight errors for you. Check data type, check values, check syntax errors, and then run again to see if the error has cleared. For example, in this code, it said total is equal to input, total jobs. Completed is equal to input, completed jobs. Now, the user will put a value for total, will put a value for completed. But the problem is that in Python, these input functions, anything you give to it, this input function, anything you give to it, Python sees it as a string, like a word. It doesn't see it as a number. So if I put 5 here, it sees it as a string. If I put 6 here, so you cannot divide numbers. You cannot divide, sorry, words. You can't divide strings. So this is going to give you an error that you tell you that the operation is not supported. So you go and debug and see the error. So basically, as we do deeper dive in programming, you will have errors, you will know how to debug, so it's part of life, part of programming life. Finding errors and debugging them, making your code better and cleaner. Now, another concept of programming in Python is to access files, read and write files. For example, I have a file that I need in a server. I need the Python program to read from the file, maybe a CSV file containing some data. I need to read it. Okay, so use the function file name dot read. Okay, like the function file dot read is a function in Python. So now, if I want to read or write, I must first of all open the file by using the open function. So with open, which is an open function, status.txt, I want to write. Open it as file. File.write. This is a function in Python. Project progress is 66.7% /n. This /n means go to the next line. So what happens? This text, everything here will be written to this file, status.txt. If I want to read the file also, I will need to open the file, put it in read mode, then report is equal to file.read. So whatever I read from this file will be put inside the report, and then when I print it, I will see what is in that file. So reading and writing of files is also a very important operation in programming and in Python. Now, there is a concept in Python which you will know better when we start going further in Python programming. It's called virtual environment. So like me now, I do a lot of programming, a lot of software development, and then all of them have different types of dependencies. Dependencies means libraries and tools that you need to, for example, if I'm doing something on machine learning, I need pandas, for example. I need pandas dependencies. I need to install some of all these things. Okay. So, and then if I'm doing another type of application, I may not need some of all these dependencies. So, by the time I start installing all the dependencies together in the same Python environment, it will crowd over the whole Python environment in the system, and then gets confused. So the solution to this is that for each project, you can create a separate virtual environment where you can install all your dependencies and work in that environment. To do that, we use this command, python -m vm.vm. So basically, it will create a virtual environment that you can activate it like this: vm scripts activate.ps1 in Windows. And then after activating virtual environment, if I install these pandas, it will stay only in that virtual environment where I'm working. So at introductory level, you may not need this now because you are just going to be writing few applications. But when you start building many projects, you will appreciate why you should use virtual environments for your applications. So this is just a small project that puts together all we've talked about. Um, Dictionaries, lists, loops, if statement, and a print statement. So that's that for introduction to Python. Remember, there will be quiz at the end of this class. So in the video, okay, there will be link for that will take you to the Google form to do the quiz. And also there will also be QR code for you to go to the same Google form and try the quiz. Remember, there will be certificates for completion of this introductory course so that you can progress to the next one. Okay, some good practice before we go. When you are creating variables, use clear names, easy name that if you are like now, completed jobs, not to just say X equal to this. Nobody will know what X is, somebody else is reading your code. So keep the code small, only one task per function. Check for bad inputs. If you want a user not to put decimal points, for example, if you want to ask the user input how many staff in your organization, there is no 2.5 staff. You cannot have floats. You can force the user to always put an integer. Explain why. Comment section is very good in programming. I will show you that. Then, of course, test your code. So I will do some rush through. I'll just rush through some VS Code and show you just some demo. Don't worry about knowing everything that is there. We'll improve more in subsequent class. So thank you. Okay, so just to go through a few codes on the topics that we have discussed. The first one is just for printing. If you in Python, if you use the function print, whatever you write inside in inverted comma will be printed in the terminal, in the console. So if I say print hello MasterSense by Faraday, to print that. If I say I can automate repetitive task, to print that, I can say I am a good engineer, whatever. So if I save and then I go to the command line, to run this I'll just say Python, the name of the file 01 underscore hello dot py. Again, this is just intro. I'm not showing you writing of the code yet. I'm just explaining codes to you. So you see, running it shows MasterSense by Faraday. Oh, it said that, okay, I think it has not saved. Let me save it. I think I didn't click save. So let me run it again. Yeah, hello, welcome. MasterSense by Faraday. I'm a good engineer. Then print number 5 there. So print 2 plus 3. If I put another value, let's say 25, 24 plus 25 plus 50, whatever. So I save. If I run it again, So it gives me 75 as the answer. The next one is variables. Variables is like, they are, like I said, they are like containers for storing data in programs. So I have set this asset to contain this string. Liquid rate is like an int, or I set it to 20,000, assuming that we are dealing with oil production. This is 20,000 barrels of liquid, which is water and oil. And then I say water cut is 0.4, which is like 40%. So if I print the asset, it will print MasterSense by Faraday. Then I want to print the oil rates from the water cut. So normally you take the liquid rate. The liquid rate times the water cut gives you the amount of water inside. Then when I subtract it from the liquid rate, I'll get the oil rate. So basically, it's what I have done here. I've lumped everything inside this print statement. Now, because I'm going to put variables inside this print statement, not just strings, I will format it with this letter F, and I write what I want to display. Oil rate is. Then put in parentheses the calculation, then the extra test barrels per day. So this one, I think I saved it already. So I'm going to run it now. Let's see what will happen. So it's supposed to show me 20,000 times 0.4 should give me 8,000, and 20,000 minus 8,000 should give me 12,000. So the oil should be 12,000 barrels per day. So let's see. Let me raise my screen. So let me run it. Python. The file name is 02 underscore variables.py. So you see, it printed what I gave to it as the what is in asset, right? And then did the calculation and said the oil rate is 12,000 barrels per day. Now input. For input, like I said, input is used to collect information from the user, and in Python this is taken as a string, so which means it's a text, it's not a number. So if you run it, you are going to have, if you put a mathematical operation, you will have errors, but for text operations it works. So let's run this one now. So you input it, to ask you for your name, you put your name, ask you for your row, then it will print it out for you. So whatever you put inside name will be printed here, whatever you put inside row will be printed here. So let's say, let me run it now. So Python 03 underscore input dot py. So it's going to ask me for the first question now. See, what is your name? Let's say my name is MasterSense by Faraday. Okay, and I press enter, to ask me the second question. What is your role? I say I'm an engineer. So after entering this, you take whatever I've written, print my name, and then print that today you are coded as an whatever I put, which is engineer. So you see, welcome MasterSense by Faraday. Today you are coding as an engineer. So that is for inputs. Then calculations. Let's go to calculations. So I have set some variables. Let's say I'm a planner. I am planning some 28 jobs, for example, and 90 have been completed. I want to report the progress. I just assign planned variable to 28, completed to 19, or whatever it is, and then progress is completed divided by plan times 100 in terms of percentage. Then the remaining will be plan minus completed. This is just simple mathematics. Okay, and then I just print out the answers. The progress is progress that I've calculated to one decimal place. That's why I have this dot 1f. Percentage is to put percent so that the answer will show as percent. Then the remaining, same thing, I print the remaining there, here, which is calculated already. So again, don't worry, these are just intro. We'll dive deeper in subsequent classes. So if I run this code now, I say Python 04 underscore calculations.py. Yeah, so it did the calculation, and if you do the math, you see that it's correct. Decisions. This is where we do if and else. Okay. Check. In this question, I set in this code I set pressure, for example, to 185 bar. For example, let's say 185 bar, and then I want to track the pressure. That if the pressure is greater than 200, it should show me high. It should, if it's less than 150, it should be give me status as low. Else, it should be normal. So now, what should status print? Status should print normal because the pressure is already set to 185, and anything that is bigger than 200 is high, which is not true for 185. If it's lower than 150, it's low, which is not true. So it must be in between, and in between is anything else, which is normal. So status is normal. So if I run this code now, Python 05 underscore decisions dot py, so it's going to give me the status as normal, as you can see here. All right, so normal. Lists. Now, talking about lists, I also told you that you can have a list, for example, valves with just these random names. I can print valve of index 0, and then if I print valve of index 0, it will give me the first value here. Then when I append this to it, it will add this to. So let me just change this to row 1 002, for example, 3, and then I want to add this one as, let's say this is an ESDV, let's say row 04, for example. So if I append this to a list of 3 items, the length will now be 4. Okay, I save. If I run this code now, Python 06 underscore list dot py. So you see, okay, I need to save, make sure that it's saved. Let me run again. So you see, the first element of the list is this SDV 270001, because I say give me position 0. If I say give me position 1, for example, then I save, make sure that it's saved well, and then I run it again. You see, it printed SDV 270002, which is position 1. Okay, so next one is loops. So what happens is that this loop goes through this list of valve and prints everything. So instead of having to print this thing 3 times to go through the loop, you just use this for loop for valve in valves, in the list of valves, print this. Dictionary is where you have key and value pair. Okay, so here you have tag, and this is tag service, oil outlet, status, stock open, priority 1. So these are dictionary pairs. So if I check status now, status, the value, the key is status, the value will be stock open. Function. For functions in Python, to create a function, you start with the keyword def, like definition. So when the function name is calculate progress, and I've given it as completed and total. Percentage is completed divided by total of 100%, and then I return the answer, round it up, and then now I can just call the function calculate progress, and give it any two parameters according to the function here to calculate the progress for me. So the next one is files. So here this code helps you to open the file for writing, and then file.write, we write this value inside the file like a text file. You see, I define it as a text file. Then you can also read from a file by R. I open the file first, and then I read from the file, then print what I read from the file. So this is just to check, put together everything we have done. This is for loop, this is if statement, this is dictionary with list, dictionary with value pair, key value pair, and then put it all together in a like a print statement that prints all the work together. Then for error, error, if you see, if I remove this integer that I've used to cast on top of it now, and I run this code, let me save this code, save, Python error.py, total job, let's say total job is 80, completed is 60. So you see, it's an error, give me error, unsupported operand type string. You see, what this thing means is because as I type 60 and 50, Python is seeing it as if it's a text, like a text, not a number, because that's how input works. So for me to make it Python see it as a number, I want to write like integer on top, because I want to ask you to give me the total number of something, so it's an integer. So then I put integer here too, and then I close it, and then I save, just to be sure of the saving. Then I run it again, Python. So total number of jobs now, let's say I still do the same 80, then completed the 60, that should be 80 divided by 60 over 80 should be what? 75%. So let's see, enter. You see, progress is 75%, so it's working now. So that's that about some intro to Python. Of course, again, like I said, this is just introduction, don't worry about it. We'll develop more with time. Thank you. Okay, time for the quiz. I will go through the quiz now. As usual, follow the quiz session, write down your answers and fill it in the Google form in the video description. You can also use the QR code to access the Google form and fill in your answers. I will just go through the questions now. Question 1, what does print do in Python? A, saves information to a file, display information on the terminal, create new variable, install a package. Number 2, what is the output of print 2 plus 3? A, 2 plus 3, B, 23, C, 5, D, error. Which value is a boolean? A, 92, B, true, C, true. Take note, one is with inverted comma, and then D, 25. Number 4, what type of value does input return? Integer, float, boolean, or string? Remember, I talked about input when I was talking about handling errors. And then for boolean, remember if something is inverted comma is string, And true is also Boolean, so you need to differentiate between them. Just giving you some hints. 5. If planned equal to 28 and completed equal to 19, what is remaining? Number 6. With pressure of 185 bar, what is status printed by else if example? The one that I gave when I said you have between 150 and 200. If you have 185 bar, above 200 is high, below 150 is low. What is 185? What is this task 0 for in this um, list of tasks? If I point to the index 0, what does it represent? Which of the items in the list? A, plan, B, build, C, test, D, deploy. Now, if you do task.append to the initial list, what is the length of the list now? So number 7 has a list of 3 items, and then I appended deploy to it. What is the length? A, 3, B, 4, C, 5, D, error. Number 9, what's the main purpose for a loop? A, to define a function, B, to repeat a block of each code, C, to choose between branches, D, to create a dictionary. Number 10, what does cause status return in the dictionary example in the video? You can go back to the video to get a peep into this answer. Which keyword begins a function in Python? A, func, B, return, C, define, D, def. I talked about this. Number 12, what does calculate progress 19 and 28 return after running to one decimal in the example that I also gave when I was talking about function? You can rewind the video to follow the answer. Number 13, why does dividing values returned directly by input cause a type error? Remember, I told you that if you ask the function input in Python, whatever you give to it is taken as something that is not a number, and then for you to actually get the number out of it, you will need to cast what is called an integer or a float or whatever on top of that data type. So A, total is 0, B, input returns text until values are converted, C, the operator cannot calculate percentage, and D, print runs before assignment. Number 14, why use virtual environment for a Python project? A, install every package globally. B, rename the Python interpreter. C, keep each project package separate. D, convert the script to an executable. Thank you. Again, go to the Google form and fill in your answers. You can always pause to look at the questions again and then be sure of your answers before going to the form. Thank you.
If this message opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to MasterSense by Faraday, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs wisdom, clarity, and inspiration today. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful lesson. Remember, knowledge becomes power only when you act on it. See you in the next video.